We came out to San Juan Island.
Here we see evidence of yet another orchid.
We came out to San Juan Island and we are at Limekiln State Park on the west side. Behind me is the beautiful lighthouse, and further back behind that, the islands you see back there, that's Canada. These funny little things are snowberries. They have the consistency of a marshmallow. You can't eat them, but they're cute. Instead of grass on the ground by the shore, there's a beautiful carpet of moss. Different small plants growing in it. Canopy of Madrona trees. Oh, there goes an eagle. Two of them. See that? That's a bald eagle. No mammals yet, but last time I was here, I came down to this little spot and there was a harbor seal right behind me, and then looked further out and there were two orcas. This is a really good place to see orcas just from land, especially in summer and fall. It's one of the most reliable places on land that you can just walk out and usually you'll see orcas. Beautiful carpet of different things. Cute little mushrooms, succulents. This is one of my favorite features of the west coast of San Juan Island. Is there's a lot of really beautiful Madrona trees, which are an evergreen broadleaf tree with beautiful, colorful, exfoliating bark. Looks like this when they're younger. It's really nice to touch, smooth, and kind of cool to the touch often. These trees are also grow in Canada, and they are Canada's only native broadleaf evergreen tree, meaning tree with wide leaves that holds on to them year round. And they're just a wonderful, interesting tree no matter when you see them. This is one that was recently downed. You can see it has some unusual burl formations inside the exfoliating bark. Once it's downed, this wood doesn't last too long before the fungi that are present in the environment get to work on digesting it, turning it into usable nutrients for the plants. We found something special. Here. It's a wild orchid. Even though it's the dead of winter, it has these beautiful patterned leaves. It's one of the few orchids that will be visible and present year-round here. Summer with a spike of white flowers. This is a rock, beautiful moss-covered rock. Look at all of the different types of moss, the lovely ferns growing here. On top of this same rock, we have a really uniquely patterned Goodyeara. These wild orchids with the silver leaves. So beautiful to see. It's on that moss-covered rock. Now this is really special. These are the leaves of another orchid, Calypso bulbosa, the fairy slipper. It has incredible pink, very ornate flowers, which we won't expect to see until April or May, but this lets us know that the plant is here, and it gives us something to look forward to.
Here we see evidence of yet another orchid.
These are the unusual saprophytes coral roots. The plant itself has no leaves and does not photosynthesize. It only comes above the ground to bloom. These are the leftover seed pods from last year. We'll expect to see these blooming in spring as well. Now we're coming to the lime kilns themselves. These are basically large furnaces that were used starting in the 1860s to burn calcite into lime to be used for agriculture, construction, and other industrial applications. This kiln is currently being restored. That's what the scaffolding is. This is the bottom part where the finished lime would have been removed from the kiln. Just below this kiln is a little bay. There used to be a pier here where the ships could sail in close to the shore and they could be loaded up with the finished lime, and then they'd sail down the coast to San Francisco and other places. What you see here staining the hillside is some calcium residue from the lime making process. It still remains on the side of the hill.
Here's our fourth orchid species of the day. This is Epipactis. It's a non-native orchid that was introduced from Europe.
This is another nearby kiln that has not been restored. So you can see there's trees starting to grow on the top of it and the walls have somewhat collapsed. Just the opposite side view of that same unrestored kiln. If you look at the bottom, you can see the little apertures there with bricks around them. It's not really a peak fungus season, but we did see a few fruiting bodies, including these coral mushrooms in the woods. If you follow my Instagram, maybe you've seen some posts from earlier in the year in the fall out collecting chanterelle mushrooms on the islands. There's a lot of those, but just not at this time of year usually. This is a big leaf maple. I just thought it was interesting how the Y-shaped fork really framed this giant boulder on the side of the hill. Plus, the moss is just so bright green, lovely to look at. In winter, without a canopy of leaves overhead and with plenty of water, the moss everywhere takes on this great sort of electric green hue. It's very energizing to look at. These are the female or seed cones of a Douglas fir tree. If you look closely, you can see what looks like the legs and tail, the back end of a little mouse hanging out from between each scale. It's a distinctive identifying feature. It has a cute story to explain it too. Now I'm standing sort of about halfway up the quarry where they blasted out the calcite from. You can kind of get this nice view across the Haro Strait to Vancouver Island, Canada. Under the water out there, there are steep rock walls. It drops off really deep, which makes this a good place for shipping lanes, but also it's a great place for the orcas. They chase salmon up against these steep rock walls where they don't have anywhere to go, and it helps them hunt. So unfortunately, there's a little bit of competition for the space between human use and the natural environment, the natural living animals there. It's been about 100 years since this was an active area for the creation of lime and shipping and everything. This whole area would have been stripped bare of vegetation and mined out. What you're looking at here are the branches of an ocean spray bush, and they're just completely covered by a variety of different lichens growing. A whole hanging garden of lichens. Really quite something. Walked a bit of a loop up into the hill above the quarry and now coming back down to the Seaside bluffs in Dead Man Bay. Dead Man Bay is a small area where you can see a lot of big driftwood has washed up from previous storms. It can be a good place to see different waterfowl and seabirds. This is a merganser. And there's some little diving ducks here. You can see they all boop, 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 go underwater. It's kind of hard to tell. They're far away. I think they might have been buffleheads. Also right here, we saw a couple of bald eagles chasing each other around. It's kind of interesting. They were just doing this for 10 minutes. Almost like they were playing, you know? This open landscape by the seashore is a good place to see some spring and summer wildflowers in the correct season. Right now you can see the leaves of California poppies, which will bloom a bit later on, but there's wild onions and other things here. Out in the water, there's also a bull kelp forest, which is essentially a marine forest environment with many different types of fish and invertebrates.
Okay, well that wraps up our little nature walk today. Hope you had fun, saw some nice stuff, and I hope you join me next time. See some more beautiful nature.